Hello all. Since I have a microtonal Halberstadt keyboard, I'm creating scale videos for equal temperaments 11 to 19, since these are small enough to be played similarly to standard tuning. Each equal temperament has its own video and goes over 2 full scales in every key. I present what I think the most logical fingerings are based on various criteria. My goals were to try and preserve fingerings from standard 12 equal tuning to make logical decisions about scales that are in uncharted territory technique-wise, and to create similar fingerings for all scales so that less has to be learned. If you're a piano player and these scales don't make sense to you, I recommend you look at the 12 equal video I did on this to compare conventions, naming schemes, etc.
In new situations involving crossing the thumb to black keys, which is sometimes necessary in these new layouts, I stuck to 2 main principles. Firstly, I only cross from a black key to a black key when the thumb leads. As difficult as it is to cross to a black key, it's much better to cross from a black key to an adjacent black key than to cross to a black key from a white key. Secondly, I tried to cross onto black keys using finger 2 when possible, but finger 3 isn't so bad. In the 16-tone layout I present, it was usually possible to use 2, but sometimes 3 had to be used. It's simply much less awkward to use 2 because the hand doesn't have to scrunch up as much for the cross, and so it can afford to be less precise. A special note about trying this rule in 16-tone equal temperament is that in the Mavila 9 scales, pitch class 15 presents a special case. Essentially, there are 2 possibilities for playing Mavila 9 in pitch class 15 that match up with previous fingerings, the one used for pitch class 4 and the one for pitch class 6, which has to do with when to cross in the group of 4 black keys. If using the same fingering for pitch class 4, the right hand will cross to a black key from finger 2, while the left hand will cross to a black key from finger 3. If using the same fingering for pitch class 6, the right hand will cross to a black key from finger 3, while the left hand will cross to a black key from finger 2. You could even mix and match for 2 new fingerings, so both hands either cross with finger 2 or finger 3. For some reason, the fingering for pitch class 4 felt more familiar to me, and so I used that, essentially trading the ease of always crossing with 2 for the familiarity of an already used fingering that felt like my hands were more in sync. So, this rule about always trying to get there with 2 is by no means perfectly consistent. If you would like the fingering charts, you can become a patron of my podcast at the link in the description. This is the video for piano fingerings in 16-tone equal temperament. The 2 scales I've picked to represent this tuning are Mavila 9 and Diminished 8. When I play a scale, I'll highlight the notes from the scale in pink. The tonic note will be a slightly darker shade of pink than the other highlighted keys from the scale. I'll play through 2 octaves to show how fingers cross into the next octave, and or how fingerings can be slightly changed at the ends of the scales to reduce crossing. Mavila is a 9-note scale, with 7 large steps and 2 small steps. It's the albatonic scale of this 16-tone layout because you can play it on the white keys, like the C major scale in 12 equal. The large steps span 2 degrees of 16, while the small steps span 1 degree of 16. I'll be playing this mode. 2, 2, 2, 1, 2, 2, 2, 2, 1. Since Mavila is a 9-note scale, it must be split up into at least 3 groups of crosses. I tried 3 plus 3 plus 3 on everything initially for simplicity's sake, but it became clear that that wasn't going to work out on its own. So, I managed to use only 2 basic fingering groupings, the 3 plus 3 plus 3 grouping and 4 plus 3 plus 2 groupings. Note that 4 plus 3 plus 2 grouping was not only generally needed when black keys got complicated, but also wasn't always in the same sequence. For example, many scales use 4, then 2, then 3 fingers together, etc. There were a total of 10 unique fingerings used. 4 different fingerings were used for the 3 plus 3 plus 3 groupings. First grouping. Pitch classes 0 and 7 used a fingering with the left starting on 3 and the right starting on 1. Fingering number 2. Pitch classes 2 and 13 used left starting on 2, right starting on 3. Pitch class 13's scale is the most unusual case in which there are a fair number of whites in the scale, but crossing the thumb from a black key to another black key is required. I chose to use 3 plus 3 plus 3 in this case for ease of remembrance, but 4 plus 3 plus 2 would also be possible. Fingering number 3. Pitch class 9 used left starting on 1, right starting on 3. And fingering number 4. Pitch class 14 used left starting on 3, right starting on 2. Now, for the fingerings that were used for the slightly more consolidated 4 plus 3 plus 2 groupings. Fingering number 5. Pitch classes 1, 3, 5, and 10 all use a 4 plus 3 plus 2 fingering, starting with left on 4 and right on 2. Fingering number 6. Pitch class 12 starts with the same grouping and left-hand fingering as the previous category, fingering 5, but the right hand 2 starts out playing the group of 3 fingers instead of the group of 4 fingers. Fingering number 7. Pitch classes 4, 6, 11, and 15 use the 4 plus 3 plus 2 grouping with both hands starting on 1. Pitch classes 4 and 15 group the right hand 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, while in fingering 8, pitch class 6 starts with the same grouping and left-hand fingering as the previous category, but the right hand is grouped 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2 instead. Fingering number 9. Pitch class 11 groups the left hand differently, while the right hand is grouped like pitch classes 4 and 15. This pattern starts on 1, but in different groups than the previous. And fingering 10. Pitch class 8 uses the 4 plus 3 plus 2 grouping, starting with left on 3 and right on 2. Diminished is an 8-note scale with 4 large steps and 4 small steps. The large steps span 3 degrees of 16, while the small steps span 1 degree of 16. I'll be playing this mode, 3-1-3-1-3-1-3-1. The diminished scale not only exists with softer step sizes in 12-tone equal temperament than in this scale, but is also a transpositionally symmetrical scale. This means that we only play 4 distinct forms and can thus reuse the same fingerings 4 times when starting at a different spot with the same notes. Like in 12-tone equal temperament, some diminished scales may use 4 plus 4, while others will need 3 plus 3 plus 2. 4 unique fingerings are used here, and they are for the 4 distinct forms. For fingering number 1, that's just pitch classes 0, 4, 8, and 12. They use a 4 plus 4 grouping, with pitch classes 0 and 8 starting with the left on 4 and right on 2, while pitch classes 4 and 12 start with the left on 2 and the right on 4. Fingering number 2 uses pitch classes 1, 5, 9, and 13. Those are going to use a 3 plus 3 plus 2 grouping with the thumbs lining up the whole time. Pitch class 1 starts with both hands on 2, and pitch class 5 starts with left hand 3, right hand 2. Pitch class 9 starts with both hands on 1, and pitch class 13 starts with left hand 2, left hand 3. Fingering number 3. Pitch classes 2, 6, 10, and 14 use 3 plus 3 plus 2 grouping with the thumbs lining up the whole time. Pitch classes 2 and 6 start with both hands on 1, pitch class 10 starts with left hand 2, right hand 3, and pitch class 14 starts with left hand 3, right hand 2. Fingering number 4. Pitch classes 3, 7, 11, and 15 use 4 plus 4 grouping, with pitch classes 3 and 11 starting with both hands on 3, while pitch classes 7 and 15 start with both hands on 1. for watching. If you would like to support giant, extravagant microtonal cover songs, keyboard arrangements of Easily Blackwood's microtonal etudes, microtonal podcasting, educational videos on ear training / modes, microtonal transposition, my composition, just any microtonal content in general, you can donate to my Now and Zen Patreon account. The link is here and in the description. This video is made possible by my Zen Harmonic patrons as well as my gracious Zen Harmonic gods, Jundai Bates Kobashigawa, Naren Rattan, Mike Battaglia, Adam Freese, Matthew Sheeran, Vincenzo Sicarella, Hector McGuffin, Christopher Bailey, Leland O. Weigel, Amy Coleman, Joe Weigel, and Tina Harmon Carto. Thanks so much. Catch you next time.